guys, so I previously let you all know that I would be traveling, so a lot of my Bachelorette reviews are going to look different for about the next 3 or 4 weeks because I'm half is vacation and half is work, so I'm going to be traveling to different areas. So I'm trying to keep my background as consistent as I can. But welcome to my mother's home in Philadelphia. This is my first stop. My next stop will be New York, but who cares about my business? Let's get into this review. So I'm doing this review more or less for you guys, just to have a dialogue, to talk about, to discuss, I guess, a few things that happened on the show. But honestly, if it wasn't for you guys, I would not be reviewing this episode because I disliked it more than I liked it. Probably more so because of two main elements with this episode, and one is the race element, and also it's just Rachel's picks. I'm not understanding her mindset, and for someone who was so adamant about no, this isn't the producer's picks, or the producers have nothing to do with it. These are the men that I want to stay in the house. For somebody who's so adamant about that, I can't get behind it. I don't know. I just feel like she's playing us in a sense, and it just bothered me. Certain things about her this episode bothered me. First of all, I totally agree with Eric and just his demeanor towards Lee. Lee is an instigator. He is an instigator. I think that's what he was hired to do. So I agree with Eric. However, I do not agree with his immature passion. He has these adult temper tantrums and just lashes out in a way that it's not intimidating or frightful. It's just a turnoff, and it's something that I don't think that Rachel is looking for in a husband. So that was my issue. A lot of you guys are just like, well, I understand. Well, not a lot. A few of you were just like, well, I understand his passion. I understand where he's coming from. He wants to see if he has more time with Rachel. So then why is he blaming her? Why is he trying to put the blame on her and say, oh, this woman is playing games, or hanging his head down low and just being a big baby? See, that's my problem. He's just being such a big baby about the situation and acting in a way that you would not expect from an adult. So that was my issue with him, that I get it. I totally understand where he's coming from. I totally understand how he feels about Lee, because me being a viewer watching this show, I was getting frustrated myself. Like, why is he still in the house? I hated how he interacted with the men, especially the brothers. I didn't like it, but I just feel like there's just a way to represent yourself when you are of a certain age, and that was my problem with Eric. I did not get that from him. It was very immature. It was very upsetting. And then in the last episode, to turn against Rachel because she wasn't having these one-on-ones with you. I don't know. I didn't like it. I did not like it at all. We need to catch these Ivory Coast hands, because I am so sick of him. He is such an instigator, and I honestly hate how he is just allowed to freely mess with these men on this show, because he's doing it in a way that is very familiar as a black person with how someone who is of another race who does not like you but wants to push you in a negative light towards people, so they use these kind of stereotype code words, and Lee is doing that. And I'm just really bothered by the fact that he's allowed to do that. However, I am here for the shade that Kenny threw at Lee when he was walking up to interrupt his date with Rachel. Kenny looked at the camera. He did this twice, actually. He looked at the camera and he was like... He did that a few times, and I'm just like, oh, poor Kenny. And we'll get to it later, but the Kenny and Lee issue, man. Oh, come through, Dean. I did not expect Dean to be the one to actually speak what was going on in the house, because he has this confessional moment with the producers, and he's just like, I think that Lee is just being very particular about the people that he goes for, and the producer's just like, so what do you mean about that? And Dean is just like, you know exactly what I mean. Like, he's actually calling out the fact that Lee is singling out black men to not intimidate, but instigate and poke the bear. That's exactly what he's doing. And I did not expect Dean to be the one to call that out. I thought the brothers at some point would call it out, but I guess they didn't want to seem like they were victims or anything on the show. But I was really surprised that Dean called that out. I couldn't believe it, because he's Mr. I've never dated a black guy, but that doesn't mean that black guy, Lord. But he's Mr. I've never dated a black woman, but that doesn't mean, so I have to correct myself, because that doesn't mean that he's not aware, you know what I mean, or just a good-hearted person. So I was just really I was really shocked and surprised that he did that, but it struck something in me for him. Although I still feel like he's way too young for Rachel. I like that about him, that he called that out. He was the only guy to do it. I don't know. He just kind of, worked up the Bachelorette ladder for me, because I was just like, I never really saw it for him and Rachel because he's so young. But that little moment of manliness, I was just like, okay, Dean. Okay, so now I see why Rachel keeps on wrapping her legs around little Dean. See, she may see stuff that we don't see on camera, but now I'm kind of understanding his appeal for her, because I was like, ooh, especially when he was like, you know exactly what I mean. I was like, oh, what? I got a little shook, you know what I mean? And aroused. And one last thing about Dean. The way that he was speaking about Lee kind of made me feel like he has overheard some things or been in close proximity with him when he was talking reckless or basically showing his true behavior. Because, sometimes when you are, maybe it's an American thing, when you are in a space where it's just you and people who are like you, culturally, you know what I mean, or skin color wise, they assume that you are ignorant like they are, or share their same views because we share the same culture or skin color or struggle or something of that nature. So maybe, he was probably hanging out somewhere without the cameras, without the mics, in the rooms or something, or maybe he's bunking with Dean or whatever. Lee is bunking with Dean, and maybe Dean probably heard him speak a certain way and maybe assumed that because they are the same color that he would agree. Because I just feel like he came to this conclusion concerning Lee real quick, and maybe there's a difference in time from what we see things, but I'm just like, for you to be the only one who says that, were you in close proximity with him and you heard some foul things and were just like, yeah, he doesn't need to be here? And I'm just upset that he is taking a space from somebody who probably would have really been there for Rachel. Why are they all hanging out in the cold, chitting and chatting? Like, you can see their breath as they speak. Go inside. You have to stay outside and have these conversations. It's so weird. They're all shivering. You can see their breath. Rachel is wrapped around in this shawl or whatever. And I'm just like, there's not enough room in the mansion for you guys to have one-on-ones. Go inside. You better go inside before you get hemorrhoids. Another gem for my grandmother. She is just full of them. Full of gems that I don't think are founded, but I've never sat on anything cold because of that, and I've never sat out in the cold too long because I didn't want to get hemorrhoids. You know what I mean? If an old black person says it, it's going to happen. Trust me. They're like the soothsayers of our people. Oh, Rachel, I hate the fact that she keeps on letting Captain Cheek Fillers ruffle her panties. Rachel, listen, Brian is an Essence Festival summer fling. He is nothing more, nothing less. Do not try to make this dude your husband. He is not the dude. You are aroused by him. That's it. Little Rachel needs to stop controlling these dates with Brian. Diggy is me. Let me tell you something. When Kenny pulled Lee outside to go and have a little conversation, Diggy ran right outside and stood right in the front and watched everything to get the front row tea. He is newsy as hell, and I am here for it. Lee is literally the embodiment of Egg Avi Twitter. I feel like he probably has several Egg Avis. He probably has he has a Twitter profile pic of a flag. It's always an American flag, an egg, or a pet, normally like a dog, like a golden retriever. It's always housing some type of racist mindset. Whenever I see those kind of things, I always get nervous. If somebody with an American flag follows me on Twitter, I'm just like, oh Lord, here we go. I'm about to get called a darkie or something. Oh, it's so sad but true. So we don't get a rose ceremony because I guess Rachel is just really stressed out by how everything has been happening, because she saw, I guess she could overhear Kenny and Lee having their altercation or conversation or whatever, and she was just really stressed out by that. But I feel like more things happen, and maybe the race element was brought up to her by producers, because I'm just like, none of the guys said anything to her. So I don't know where she came to this conclusion and started crying about being a black woman in America and making wrong decisions. I was just like, well, where did this come from? Because nobody has told you anything that's really going on in the house. Nobody has mentioned anything to you about the race element with the men in the house. So maybe she was having a confessional session with the producers and was just overwhelmed and probably heard heard that this is why they were getting into an argument, because from what I saw, it did not make sense for her to have this reaction and start crying about being a black woman. I was like, girl, I understand the tears, but I'm not understanding it in this context, you know what I mean? However, I still really feel bad for her because I feel like the girl is really in it to win it on this show, and I feel like she's here for the right reasons, and I'm not sure if she wants to find a husband, but I think she's just like, why not find a good fling or just a fun guy to be with on a TV show and get paid handsomely for it and become like a pseudo celebrity. So I think that's it's like a win-win for her in a sense. So I think that she went all into it, but I don't think you could ever fathom the type of backlash that you'll get because of it. And, you know, even in Justice channel alone, when I do, like, everybody is beautiful until I do these Bachelorette reviews, and I get a certain kind of troll who has very questionable things to say about black women, specifically white guys. Like, nobody has a problem with Rachel kissing Iggy, you know what I mean? But let her kiss Dean or Peter, and those trolls come right into the comment section to say all types of things, and it's very, very negative. It always goes back to slavery, and it's sad, because let's be real here, black men can do whatever they want, right? They can date whomever, they can marry whoever, they can just do whatever they want. But if black women decide that they want to go outside the tribe to find a love or a relationship or just anything, to do something new, it becomes an issue. We're called every name under the book. We're looked down upon within the community, within our community, by people who we love and respect. A lot of times it's too much to bear, so you end the relationship. Black men don't get the same type of hate and negativity that black women get when they choose to find love outside of their culture or skin color. You know, because a lot of times if the guy is black or of a different culture, it's fine. He just, to be honest, he just can't be white. Like, it's a big issue. And I knew going in that I would probably see some things like that, because I think in my first review, I was just like, you know, black and white, listen, this is America. We got beef. So I knew it was going to be difficult, but I feel like a lot of the people on the show are being very mature about it, just being real. And so to have this element, I feel like being forced into the show, I think it's kind of weighing on her. And I really feel bad for her, because it's not like a win-win situation. She can leave this show finding love, but if she finds love with the wrong color, it's just like, you know what I mean? It's like you found love, but you still have this burden that you have to bear, and that's another cross that a lot of black women have to bear. Like, we always have to bear some kind of burden. And if you go into a relationship with someone who is not of your same culture, you wear the burden of your race, feeling like you rejected them, especially being a woman, because we create life, and then you're creating life with this person who is not of your same culture. And so you're creating this child with multiple dynamics who is not, you know, considered, you know, fully black. It's so much baggage that we have to deal with. We just can't be in love. We can't. We just can't be in love, and we just can't find a relationship. And I think that speaks to our whole demeanor. You know what I mean? Black women are inherently tough. We are strong because life makes us strong. Like, I personally would give anything to just be dainty and fragile and fall apart at the drop of anything, because I know that I'll be, you know, caught by the men in my community, or society will always, you know, give me a pat on the wrist and tell me it's okay. We don't get that. So we have to be strong, we have to get it right, and we have to do it better every time. And I just feel bad for Rachel, because no other Bachelorette has had to go through this, but somehow, because of her skin color, she has to take on all these things. She just can't go into the house and be like, I want to see if I fit with any of these guys. It's so much more that she has to deal with, and I honestly feel bad for her. Off my soapbox and back to the foolishness. What is Alex doing in a purple and black zebra suit? What is going on? Like, don't you want to get a girl from this? Like, don't you want to get laid? Like, don't you want Rachel to think that you're attractive? Not in a purple and black zebra suit, like full length, coat and pants. Why did you think that was a good idea? See, this is the thing, right? I get these guys are trying to come on here to make a statement or to be funny or whatever, but at the end of the day, we love a funny dude, but at some point you got to be serious. You know what I mean? At some point. And Alex has had his moments, but that suit, I was just like, you lucky you got that rose. You lucky. Because I would have cut you on the suit alone. You know what? Will is hot. I'm mad that I'm just now seeing this. I wish at this moment I could redo my top 5, because a lot of dudes are changing in positions for me right now. Specifically Will. I don't think I've ever had him on my radar, along with Dean. I checked Dean off because he was too young, and now Will just wasn't getting enough camera time, so I wasn't able to really fall for him, but I'm falling. He got me, like, he lost me with that whole Urkel thing, but now I'm like, oh, hey, Will. Adam, I finally know who he is. Did you see how giddy and happy he was when Rachel called him for the rose? That was really cute. But you know what I noticed this episode? We didn't see the dummy. And that's probably why I didn't like this episode. There was no Adam Jr. Ted Bundy is still here. How, Sway? How? Now I'm heated. The rose ceremony really pissed me off because this is my thing with Rachel, right? I told you I had some issues with her in the beginning, and this is where it started with this whole entire rose ceremony. You cut Diggy in them juicy lips. You also cut a firefighter and a model to keep the son of the clan. Like, what are you doing? That's why I'm just like, you have to be influenced by the producers. Or maybe you're just not that smart, because why would you keep a guy here that, one, you've never really had a one-on-one with, you've never had any kind of attraction to, but all he's doing is getting under the skin of the guys. Like, why would you keep him here? Why would you cut Diggy without kissing him first? You're an idiot. At least kissed him before you chopped him. Maybe if you knew that you wasn't feeling him, that you were going to chop him, I would have been like, you know what? I'm not going to see them lips anymore. Let me get a little one-on-one, get a little kiss, and then be like, all right, you got to go, boo, because you're not feeling him. But at least sample the lips before you cut the dude. I mean, you're all over Brian and his wound lips, so I don't know how you going to overlook them juicy, diggy lips. You know what? What's his Instagram? Sorry. So we finally get or did Dean and Rachel already have a one-on-one? I feel like this is their second one-on-one date. But anyway, she takes Dean out on a one-on-one date, and I wish Dean would have let her know that he was afraid of heights, or maybe let the he probably did tell the producers, and they set him up with a blimp date. I wish they would have, or he would have mentioned it at some point, because baby, he was so excited to get that one-on-one date, but when he saw that blimp, Dean could have passed out. First, I was just like, dude, man up, it's not that big of a deal. But then I thought back to, wait, I think like 2 weeks ago where a blimp like blew up at the US Open, those things are not safe, so I can now understand his fear. Age again comes into play, and it's not with anything that he did at this part of the date. It's just his whole development. You know what I mean? He's not yet 30s developed. He's still like young, 25, boyish. And not saying that, you know, 31 or 32 is not young, but there's just a mannish quality that comes when you get to that leg of your life. And I feel like he's still very boyish, you know, boyish in like mind at certain points, and also boyish in body, because if you saw when him and Rachel was walking to that blimp, Rachel in that big behind with them strong legs, she was so much like, she looked Cock Diesel standing next to him, and I swear she was dragging him like he was a rag doll to that blimp. Dean was so scared with his little feet. I'm so sorry. But he just looked so boyish next to Rachel. And I'm like, Rachel, at this point, you know, it's predatory, girl. You got to let him go. He's so young. Oh, but you know what? I did say this before. White men get married really, really young. I do remember when I got fresh out of college, I was getting a lot of save the dates. And I was just like, save the date for what? A graduation? No, we're not getting married. I'm still living at home with my mom. Like, we're fresh out of being like teenagers, and all of a sudden you think you can handle a family and kids. But that was from like a lot of my white friends. My black friends are just like, especially my black girlfriends are just like, I'm getting a master's, not a man. Oh, I'm here for the petty. Rachel took the blimp around the hotel room where the guys were saying, and then they had this message on it, Rachel and Dean forever, and the guys were actually getting really upset. It's so weird to see these grown men get taken out of themselves over the pettiest things. Like, I thought it was like cute petty, but they were really getting upset. I think Josiah was just like, I'm not going to stand here and look at this message anymore. And I'm like, really? A blimp message got you out of yourself? Really? Where did they get these guys from? He is such an inner thigh boil. Jack, Ted Bundy, gets excited that he finally gets a one-on-one date with Rachel. That was really weird to me. Was it weird to anybody else? I'm like, of all people, Jack really? Anyway, he gets a one-on-one date with Rachel, and as soon as it's announced that he gets a one-on-one, Lee immediately takes the wind out of his sails and starts saying, oh, you know, a lot of pressure with that date. You can go home off of that date if you don't really click with her. And like Jack was so excited, and the more and more Lee talked, that excitement, that joy left his face. He went from like beaming to like sitting down, contemplating this date. And I was just like, he's terrible to everybody, not just the blacks. He's a horrible person. So just like Anthony, Dean gets a full day of Rachel. So I'm thinking their date is over and that they're coming back to the house, especially when Peter was like naming all the dudes in that weird voice that he was doing. I thought that they were on their way back from the date, but no, the date is not done. They go down to have dinner, and it was a really sweet dinner date. But again, I just feel like she's so mature and just womanly, and he's so like coy and shy and just not yet ready. It gives me like teacher and student vibes. You know what I mean? Like, you know, just this curious, boyish guy who is really interested in his hot teacher, and then the hot teacher who really wants to teach this youngin' something. I just have to realize I gotta be specific. I'm not talking about like high school, I'm talking about like college, you know what I mean? Like, you know, 20 and like, you know, 41-year-old teacher. Have you watched Shameless? I'm talking about that kind of relationship. On the date, you can see that they have obvious chemistry, teacher-student kind of chemistry. And it was just, but that aside, it was just really, really sweet. I think they were able to get to really know each other a lot better because Dean, like, he dropped this tea on Rachel, and he actually invited her into like a really deep part about his life that he never talked about. He talked about how his mother passed, and you know, his mother being a cancer survivor, and then just succumbing to cancer as it came back again when he was like 15. And I just felt really, really bad for him because you could see that it was very hard for him to talk about it. And when he was talking about it with Rachel, after he finished, he was just like, I've never said that to anybody before, but I just feel so open with you. And I was just like, oh my gosh, Dean. I feel like I'm the same way with Dean that I am with Kenny. They are wonderful men, sweet guys. Just don't think they're right for Rachel. But like I'm sitting here and I'm listening to Dean, and I'm seeing him open up to Rachel, and I'm seeing Rachel's eyes like tear up, and I'm just like, oh gosh, maybe they can work. You know what I mean? I'm just like, you know what, maybe this can actually be a little something. Maybe this could be a cute little, not May, December, but August, October relationship. You know what I mean? Like not too far off, but kind of far off. Maybe this could be something because, you know, look, age ain't nothing but a number. You know what I mean? Oh, I probably shouldn't use that song because isn't that about molestation? You know what? Just why am I going to molestation with this relationship? What I'm just trying to say, I feel like the age will be a barrier. The thing about it is it's not a huge age difference because there are men in the house that are 26 as well. Like Adam Sr. is 26, but he gives me an older vibe. Anthony, 26, gives off an older vibe. Dean, to me, acts his age. There's nothing wrong with that. I just don't think he's there yet to be husband material. Now, 35-year-old Dean, listen, if I'm still single when he's 35, I might hit up the Twitter and be like, what you up to? Remember me? I was a girl reviewing. No, I will hopefully not be that thirsty. So Rachel and Dean still on this date. After dinner, all of a sudden they're like walking in the woods. I don't know what's up with these Bachelorette locations. If this is something normal, let me know. But they have always been on like beachy or like woodsy dates. I don't know what's going on here. But anyway, they're on the date and they're like walking and they're having like this intimate conversation, and you know, they're like, oh, I had such a good time, and just being really, you know, intimate. And then like 2 feet away is a huge crowd of like country fans, and then some guy who I don't know, Chase, Kent, Dale, something. He's a country singer. He starts singing a song and just like, Rachel and Dean, this is for you. I made this about your love. And I'm like, really? What is going on? I'm like, how? Who told you about this? Like, I was just confused. I was just so confused about how he made this song about their love. Anyway, they get on stage and they start like dancing and kissing. It was just so awkward. And this crowd is like, woo woo. What I noticed about the crowd is that it was completely white, except for one sister who had her cell phone filming the whole thing. She was sitting there like, just filming it. I'm like, what is going on. The dates on this show are weird. I'm just going to be very honest. None of them make sense to me. None of them are explained. Rachel was sitting there the whole time. I thought that maybe this guy was picked because he was one of her favorite singers, because, you know, she is from Texas, you know, so, and they like country music. I didn't need to do that accent. Forgive me, Southerners, if you're watching. I'm a Northerner. Ignorant. So anyway, I thought that maybe he was there because he's one of her favorite singers. But Rachel was giving me Oprah, sitting up there acting like she knew the words to the song. And she did not know one word. Dean, of course, had no idea what the song was. So they're just like, when they don't know the chorus or they don't know the words to the song, they just start kissing and swaying. It was an awkward date. So the remainder guys go on like this boat date with Rachel. And they had this weird hip hop rap parts of it that I just... let me stop playing. There was one part that I just did not like, and it was my baby Peter. Listen, I love him. I've had him as a front runner. I did not like this moment, and I get maybe he was trying to find something that rhymed, because he had the weakest out of all of the men. He had the weakest freestyle out of all of them. And in his freestyle, he mentions that that he's falling for a girl from the hood. And that bothered me, because let me tell you something, Rachel ain't from no hood. Hood person right here. I can tell you right now, Rachel ain't hood. Ain't nothing hood about Rachel at all. And I seriously had a problem with that, because the only thing that he had in his mind that could ever relate, because with meeting Rachel, you clearly know that she was not raised in the hood. So the only identifier of the hood that he could probably put on her is a stereotype that all black people grow up in the hood. So to just associate the hood and Rachel with one and the same was very bothersome. And the one thing that I didn't like the most out of that was the fact that Rachel cheered that on, and then even talked about it in her one-on-one with him about how she liked that. This is my problem with Rachel, right? Besides the fact that she sent home Diggy. Besides that, my problem with her is that she always okays questionable behavior from her white partners, or like white guys that she's dating on this show. She allows these comments, these microaggressions to slip by, and I'm guessing maybe I don't know, maybe it's because that's the type of woman she is, or maybe it's because she doesn't want to rock the boat on this show. But I'm like, girl, it's your show. Okay, they're focusing on you. Rock the boat, because you have to check these things early. Check that behavior, especially when you're dating somebody who is not of your same culture. They don't have your same oppressions. They don't have your same struggles. Especially when you are a black woman, you have to check that behavior, because if you don't check it now, you'll be dealing with it later on down the line. And if you're interested in being in a relationship with him, stop dying to his microaggressions and overlooking them and not saying anything. Check the behavior now so you can bang him with a clear conscience later. That's all I'm saying. Go Tickle, go Tickle, go Tickle. Black people are so messy. Tickle Monster probably thought that he was getting it. And I'm just like, those brothers are clowning you. So now we get to the spelling bee. Girl, what a nightmare. Squirt. ABC, you nasty. I'm sorry, but I hollered at Peter being intimidated by the men because they knew how to spell. I was like, oh, we about to find out this episode that Peter is dumb as a box of rocks. I feel so hurt. He is really starting to fall down the line for me. He's starting to fall, and Dean is starting to rise. What is going on here? What the hell? You had the easiest word of all the men. Like, Eric spelling facade with the PH is disheartening. It's also extremely understandable, because my people love putting a PH before any word that sounds like it, or any word that has an F in it. We love it. It is a black trait. I apologize to Eric, because the black community made you lose that spelling bee, because we love a PH. We love a PH for an F. Even if we know how to spell it, we'll still use the PH because it's cool. I'm telling you, we are so cool to a fault. Josiah is annoying corny, right? It's not enough for me not to like him. I think that's something about him that is actually adorable. You know what I mean? Like how young Dean is in an adorable way. Adam with the Adam Jr. It's kind of creepy, adorable, but it's not something where you would cut him off. So that's how I feel about Josiah. I feel like those little quirks about him are adorable. And I'm telling you, I love him for Rachel. I've loved him for Rachel since the first episode, but I feel like he's too much like her. And I don't think that that is something that she's looking for. He's perfect for Rachel if she wants to date her twin. Would I date a male Nikki? You know what? No, because a male Nikki would be hella flamboyant. I still feel like I would be very extra as a guy. I don't see me being tough. I think male Nikki will be wearing like a lot of glitter stuff, and I would just be like, only one of us can wear glitter in this relationship. So yeah, I wouldn't want to date myself. Aww. Yeah, Josiah not gonna be the one. So Eric finally gets his little downtime with Rachel. I'm so happy that he finally got it so he can calm down. However, I felt like Rachel was a little lit during this whole thing because she was just very flighty, and just the stuff that she was talking about and like trying to like make eye contact with him, like forcibly making eye contact, let me know that she wasn't fully in control of herself, because she was hugging that wine bottle a little hard this episode. So I don't think that she was completely all with it, but it was enough to make Eric feel happy. And again, it's sweet that he loves her like that, or that he's really into her like that. It's also alarming. I do not like the fact that she had to like calm him down, you know what I mean, or make him feel better, because he was just like, oh, now I feel so much better. And she was like, yeah, you were really, really down. He's like, now that I have the time with you, I'm a lot better. And my thing is, don't get frustrated, dude. Get smart, you know what I mean? Get get aggressive. And I keep on using aggressive because of Lee. I'm just saying, just be smart about your interactions with her instead of having a whole hissy fit and sitting down and crossing your arms and just be smart about your intentions with her. Like, go after her. Lee is annoying. He don't want Rachel at all, but he gets his one-on-one time with her. So you do the same thing. Like, nothing is stopping you from sitting down and talking to Rachel. Nothing. Oh no. They calling Iggy the gossip queen. Iggy is now becoming the White Blake of this whole episode with a dash of Lee, because now he's running back and telling Rachel everything about the guys that he doesn't like, or that he doesn't think is here for her. How about you not being here for her, Iggy? How about that? Because I think it's so suspect and unattractive for some of these guys to be so interested in telling Rachel about the guys that are not for her, instead of spending that time with Rachel to get to know Rachel. It's so awkward to me that they spend so much time doing that. They won't sit down and try to get to know her at all, which makes me think that they're not really here for her. Wait. So then Iggy goes and tells Josiah that he was talking bad about him to Rachel. Then Josiah gets upset. He goes out. He has a whole confessional with the producer. And out of nowhere, he's just like, he shoots steroids in his nuts. What? What is going on at this mansion? I was not expecting to find out that Iggy shoots steroids in his nuts. I'm not surprised. I just wish I didn't know. Thanks, Josiah. While Iggy is spending his time trying to take down Josiah, Lee is spending his time trying to take down Kenny. He goes and tries to tell Rachel that Kenny is being aggressive and that he's frightened and all of this stuff. Then Rachel goes and sit down with Kenny, and she's just like, well, I'm just concerned about you. And Kenny was so sweet in his day. He starts off with a corny freestyle, but it was so sweet and endearing. And I honestly, in this moment, really felt like he was really, really into her, because I felt that that was very heartfelt, that corny little freestyle that he did for her. And Rachel couldn't even digest that. She wanted to talk immediately about how, oh, I see that this is who you are with me, but I don't know if you're like that in the house, because Lee is telling me that you're aggressive. And I'm like, Rachel, you are a black woman from Texas, okay? You're sitting here and telling a black man that a white dude from the South told you that he was aggressive and you believed it. If anything, you should have checked Lee, because you know about that. We know about that, sis. What are you doing? She bothered me so much with that. I could not believe that she went along with that storyline. Then she left Kenny. He's sitting there looking like somebody ran off his puppy and feeling all depressed because he feels like Rachel believed that he was aggressive. And I felt like she believed that too. And I'm just like, you have such a good opportunity on this show to really show us in the proper light who we are as human beings, and you are just going along with stereotypes. I get that this show has a huge Caucasian audience, but honey, when you were announced, we were already signed up. We are here too. So I need you to tell the true tea and stop playing around with these Caucasian viewers and acting like that everything that is negative about us is justified, because it's not. You don't have to be like the Rosa Parks of the Bachelorettes for the Black community. I just want you to be honest about things. And the fact that Rachel did not check Lee bothered me. And the fact that you believe that Kenny of all people is Mr. Aggressive bothered me. Let me tell you something. There are aggressive Black men, okay? I know, first of all, I'm from the city of Philadelphia. All our men are aggressive, okay? Of any culture, young and old. It's just an aggressive city. There are aggressive men, especially aggressive Black men, which Lee is trying to point out, you know what I mean, to make him seem dangerous. There are aggressive Black men. I know them, okay? I live amongst them. Kenny ain't one of them. Put aggressive on him is the last thing that you need to do. Kenny is a puppy dog. He's even when he's wrestling, he's adorable, which is probably why his wrestling career hasn't popped off, because he's not believable. Like, he's not, you got to be intimidating to be a wrestler. Kenny is not intimidating. I feel like I could take Kenny. I probably can't, but he's just he's not an aggressive dude. There's nothing about him that's aggressive. Even when he's upset with Lee, he's like, "Can I talk to you, brother? I just want to say, brother, I don't like what you said about me, brother. You know, I thought we were friends, man. I thought we were friends." Aggressive. Really, Rachel? You allowed Lee to feed you that garbage? I can show you aggressive, okay? It ain't Kenny. You know what I mean? Like, there are aggressive dudes. I've dated a few. It's like, oh my goodness. Stop being aggressive. Oh my goodness. Stop going to jail. You are so aggressive. You know what I mean? Gosh, I gotta get delivered from Thug Passion. But anyway, Kenny is not aggressive, and I was so bothered that Rachel allowed that to go. She allowed that to pass, especially when Black men are labeled as aggressive and being shot down in the street, and it's being justified by the authorities because we're aggressive. Like, girl, this was not the week for this episode to come out. I'm telling you, I have so many emotions about it. And I'm sorry that it's not this review isn't as funny as they normally are. I just can't do it. It's just, I was just so I didn't like it, guys. I did not like it. I was so bothered by it. I miss the cheesiness of the show. And I remember talking about it before. I liked watching this show because everything else is so dark. And they were bringing this element into this show that I just don't think is necessary. I don't think it was there. And I think that it's something that was forced upon us. And that is my problem here. Like, of all shows, you picked The Bachelorette to try to tackle race. And they tackled it poorly. It was like, and I think they're going to make it like a 2-part or 3-part thing. And I'm like, I'm over it. I'm over it, because this is not a show where, I'm not saying you can't talk about race. I'm not saying these things don't happen. I'm just being very honest. As a viewer, it doesn't seem organic to me. The whole issues with Lee and everything, I feel like, and I could be wrong, I feel like casting put him here for that same reason. There's no way. I told y'all, when they do those background checks, they check everything. You have to give all your information. And even if you don't give your information, they still find a way to get your stuff. So it's, especially with a huge network like ABC, they do this research, or any production trying to work with ABC, you got to do your research, because ABC don't want no liabilities. And I feel like because she's the first Black Bachelorette, they make sure to have her races. And this happens in shows like that, especially most recently in MTV, The Real World. They made sure to put 2 Black people in a house with someone, with some young racist white girl, completely ignorant, come from a small town, full of racism, and they put her in the house with them. Like, why would you want to traumatize those people like that? Like, I just didn't understand that. And I feel like it's something because America is so obsessed with race that they thought that people would tune into. But I'm being very honest with you. I feel like we all tuned in because it's a dating reality TV show, and it's cheesy and fun and corny at a lot of times, but it's lighthearted. I don't think we all tuned in because we thought that this was going to be the race show. I know that I tuned in because it was finally somebody who looked like me that I could relate to, but I wasn't coming in thinking that she was going to be like the Malcolm X, you know what I mean, of the Bachelorettes and try to like, you know, educate people. I didn't want her to do that. What I do want is for her to address things when they come up organically. And I feel like that happened with Peter and Dean. But I feel like this Lee thing, I feel like Lee is some type of racist plant. And I feel really bad for the black people in that house, especially for Rachel to have to deal with that kind of trauma. Racism is extremely traumatizing. If you have not been on the end of it, please don't speak. You have no idea how traumatizing racism really is. And to put these people in a house with somebody who has these racist ideals, to have him attack these men, call them aggressive, knowing that that is something that is used to demonize us and to kill us. I feel really bad for everybody in the house, and I do not like it. This was an uncomfortable episode to watch. I hate the fact that they're going to continue with this and try to make it, oh, Kenny versus Lee, when it's really, you know, Kenny versus this racist white dude putting out these negative ideas about him. It's not fair, The Bachelorette. It's really not fair for you to do that to Kenny, and especially for you to do that to Rachel. She deserved better. You knew about this dude. I just don't believe it. I don't think that there's any way that you did not know that this dude was trifling. You did not know that he was reckless and racist. You guys knew. Some random 13-year-old Twitter follower was able to find out that all of his tweets within seconds. Like, come on. You knew. And I just feel like he was put there to stir up racist drama because they wanted something to happen. And I'm telling you, that is not always the case. Racist white dude is not going to sit here and just be like, I want to date the first black bachelorette. Like, that's just not something that comes up, which you can see with Lee's interactions with Rachel. He's not attracted to her. He wants nothing to do with her, but he loves going after those brothers. He loves stirring up drama. He loves going after anybody else who recognizes who he is and is not okay with his behavior. So he is just there to stir up drama, and I'm fine with them putting some type of plant in, you know, to try to stir up some drama. It's a reality TV show. I honestly get it, but to pick a dude that has these racist ideas, to put black people in his path is so careless, and it's such a terrible and disheartening thing to do. And I didn't like it. I just felt very, very uncomfortable watching it, and I was just really, really disgusted by it. And I tried to write jokes. I really, really did, but I just couldn't. There wasn't too many things about it that just wasn't uncomfortable. Extremely uncomfortable, and I just felt bad. I just felt bad for the black people who were in that house with him. Lee is a terrible person, and the fact that Rachel still kept him bothered me, because I'm like, you have had no one-on-one dates with this dude. You have had no interactions with him that were not about other people. Why on earth would you cut Diggy and keep him? Why? Because he's a plant. And he's there to serve this racist drama. And I feel like they hired him not knowing how traumatizing this dude was actually going to be. And now it's taking a toll. The energy in the house has changed. Even when the dudes mentioned it, they were just like, this energy is different because of you. Like, you bring all this negativity into the house. It's so different. And it just was uncomfortable to watch, and I didn't enjoy it. And I'm totally sorry that I couldn't make fun of it. But I don't play with racism. It ain't nothing funny about it. And I was just really bothered by Lee and his actions. And I was bothered by the fact that Rachel kept him. For what? The viewers don't want him. Like, look at Twitter. We are done with Lee. Get him out the house so we can go back to having multicultural fun. Anyway, that's where the episode ends. And then we have this whole hype up of Kenny and Lee next week. The battle continues. And then it's like this fake blood on Kenny's face. And then Lee is like, oh, I feel like he's going to hit me right here, hit me. And I'm just like, Kenny, don't play into this stereotype, please, because that's exactly what dudes like Lee want. I'm just so sick of this waste of a nut Lee being on this show. I'm over it. I'm done, and we're going to have to deal with it next week. I'm hoping that when they do deal with it, that it's one and done. That it's not the whole episode. I want to get back to the fun. I had a good time reviewing this show, and I didn't have it. And I've watched a few other reviews where all the reviewers of this show feel the same way. We're just like, we're done. This needs to be done. Anyway, this was my depressing review. Guys, I hope it's no race stuff next week. I really, really do, because we, black, white, Asian, whatever, human beings of different cultures can coexist in a space without being terrible. So I'm hoping we're done with the race next week, that we get the whole race stuff out in the first 15 minutes and we can go on to this being a dating show about Rachel Lindsay finding love. This is what we're all tuning in for. Ain't none of us tuning in for the race stuff. This ain't CNN. This is ABC. Give us the fluffiness, please. Anyway, see y'all next week. From what location? I don't know. Maybe Philadelphia? Who knows? Bye, guys.